Sanje chodan soje chonamala changju padu dani japsuchi dagi jingso jibe chonamji rola pinjir sanje rupara sho sanje chodan soje chonamala changju padu dani japsuchi dagi jingso jibe chonamji rola pinjir sanje rupara sho sanje chodan soje chonamala Changzhou Bado Dani Jiaosu Qi Dagi Jingsu Jibe Cuanamji Rola Pinjira Sanje Rupara Shu Simje Tamje Dewa Dewe Judang Dembara Juji Simje Tamje Dunga Ji Judang Tawara Juji Simje Tamje Dunga Mebe Dewa Meche Wara Juji Simje Tamje Nierin Chadang Nidang Tewe Danyumla Nebara Juji Simje Tamje Dewa Dewe Judang Dembara Juji Simje Tamje Dunga Ji Judang Tawara Juji Simje Tamje Dunga Mebe Dewa Meche Wara Juji Simje Tamje Nierin Chadang Nidang Tewe Danyumla Nebara Juji Simje Tamje Dewa Dewe Judang Dembara Juji Simje Tamje Dunga Ji Judang Tawara Juji Simje Tamje Dunga Mebe Dewa Meche Wara Juji Simje Tamje Nierin Chadang Nidang Tewe Danyumla Nebara Juji So I was thinking about being a Buddhist, and yet, how myself um, going into the uh, right path or the advices of the Buddha. Uh, Also, being a bit busybody, thinking how other people also how much taking on the advices of the Buddhas. Uh, so obviously it is really, really hard to follow all the advices of Buddha um, in order to follow maybe 50% of the general advices for the being for the general students. Um, it is also very hard to achieve, to listen, or to practice 50% of the advices. It's very hard. So nowadays, we think we are, the people who are thinking they are Buddhist. Then almost like in the morning, maybe thinking of three gems and saying few prayers in the morning and some prostrations, uh, and then maybe offering the set of uh, 7 bowls of water. Um, then in the evening, well, uh, when we're going to go to sleep, thinking of the three gems and saying few prayers and possibly appreciation um, and dedication if we have done something wonderful. However, to be a good practitioner, that is not enough. Um, we need to watch our mind almost at all the time, or at all the time, if we can. And then what is positive thoughts arising in our mind, whether we have to act for that thoughts, and if it's a positive thoughts, should we wait for few hours or few days or few months, or we have to act immediately, things like that. And the same way, if something negative thoughts arises in our mind, and then whether we should act or follow that thought, and being following that thought and then act um, whatever action, if you follow, then that would be negativity actions. So whether we should act or not, and thinking uh, very carefully. So in this way, then also, should I delay acting this and slowly maybe forget about acting and forget about doing something that causes problems for ourselves and others, things like that. So we have to look into our mind at all the time, and so that is kind of fundamental sort of activities for the practitioners. Then, whether we are, in order to become a good practitioner, then we need to, of course, to know what is positive, positivities, and what is negativities. So, in order to know that, we need to hear the teachings, we need to learn the teachings, and perhaps precisely what is positive and what is negative, and recognizing the analyze or the recognizing, finding the definition of negativities, negative, and also um, the positive. So then once one have the definition of positive and negative, then we know our actions are going into thoughts, are positive thoughts, arising positive thoughts, or negative thoughts, then whether we should follow that positive thoughts or negative thoughts. So without learning, it is hard for us to decide whether that is positive or negative. And very often we may think this is a positive, and yet it could be a negative side. And also sometimes we may think it is a negative, but it may be positive. So therefore, we need to learn what is positive virtues and what is non-virtues, or the positive and negative. When I'm saying the positive means the virtues activities, and negative means non-virtues uh, or non-virtuous activities or action. So, and looking it into myself, I find, uh, if not a million, but hundreds of faults that being a lama, being a teacher's name, being a practitioner should not be, thinking this way, should not be doing this way, should not be acting this way, and so on and so forth. I find lots of faults that, or lots of things that doesn't suit uh, with name of the Lama, doesn't suit its name of the teacher and practitioner. So uh, then I have to work out how I'm going to improve, have to watch. If it's something very uh, little impact, doesn't harm others, but harms my own practice, then that could count as a little or smaller one, smaller faults. But if something it harms others, then it could be, count as a big fault. So therefore, uh, whether I possess the big faults or small faults, and have to watch, and how am I going to improve them? And what we could do is, if it's something positive, trying to push ourselves towards, then make it happen, make it act, and that if something positive thoughts, then maybe make it last long and make it have a result, means action, and that action should bring happiness among others and self. And if something negative, something that harmful, then should try to withdraw and stop for even a minute, or uh, then like hours, then maybe a day, and then slowly maybe kind of delete that sort of negative faults. So that's how we should uh, apply the practice of the Dharma. Um, then, of course, this is when we could name that way, that actions or that activities, um, that system as a Dharma, or we could just say that is like a philosophy um, too, because this is how we creating problems. Um, so if we are able to control our mind, then we will be able to um, um, find happiness inside, innate happiness, inner happiness. And then, of course, when ourselves find happiness, then also be able to tell how I'm managing finding this happiness. Then you tell others, then also others will be uh, possibly follow your advice, and then they also gain happiness in this way. However, in order to look into our own mind, then search, see whether we're going into positive thoughts or negative thoughts, or negative side or the positive side, and then in order to control, in order to uh, decide which path we need to I want to work or follow, then it is something that we have to sacrifice, which is like saying I, I. So if we say I need this, I want this, and I got to win this, and I must have this, and so if you put I in the middle of the heart, in the center of your heart, like a pillar, like I, letter I itself is like a pillar, yeah, in your heart, the pillar like, then that is that will cause the problems. It will not let anything else sit on that I. It's very difficult. So that will get rid of all the other positivities to come alone, joined. It is like a uh, positive uh, magnet and negative magnet. So when the positive and negative comes together, it joins, isn't it? And when two positive comes together, it cannot uh, sit together or joined. So likewise, if I say I am so important, I need everything, then other person also say the same, like two positive magnets together. It will not never be able to sit together. It always, that energy will push away. There is no hope. So therefore, in order to put together two magnets, one should be positive, one should be negative, then together, then it will work, sits together. And likewise, electricities. If we have positive and negative together and plugged in, then we get a light. If two positives together, burns, and two negatives together, no electric, comes nothing. So therefore, that's an example. So there's we have to sacrifice, thinking of I am so important, others not important. That thought is the most uh, obstacle, the biggest obstacle to achieve happiness, to achieve something uh, long lasting joy and happiness. So because we have that thought in our heart at all the time, it is pushing everything that we truly deserve. It all pushes around, pushes our way. So because of that, pushes everything away. So if you turn that away, thinking we all are human beings, we all have a right to share the planet, share the land, share the sky, share the sun, share the moon, and share the food, and share the whatever supposed to be shared. We're supposed to share them, not thinking I want it. So if everybody wants one world, then it's never gonna happen. It's only uh, even in a theory, it's not gonna possible. And then in a reality, forget about it. But if ourselves, to be honest to ourselves, think in our mind what we are thinking, that we as a um, as a being human being, our desire and ego and all as big as ego is as big as sky, desire as wide as the sky, and of course we don't like to say, but we hold faults, negativities as big as the sky, but we would not like to accept that. And always any negativities or any faults uh, have occurred, we would point to others. That person did, and that person, even myself, done something. Then I have nothing to, um, nowhere to, what do you call it, blame on. So I say, oh, my silly hand and my silly leg, things like that. So basically, when it comes to ourselves, then you are so clever. You are trying to uh, uh, apart your hands, your legs, and your head, and your eyes, your mouth, and saying there's another I without them. So the thinking that I, or pointing the I yourself, is someone different, so pure, than saying my silly hands, silly legs, and things like that. So when it comes to others, then you make the person all together. Never mind that maybe has a silly hand or legs, that bad legs, and because of shaking hands, maybe broken glass or broken mugs, whatever. Then you wouldn't think that because of uh, the disease, you would say that person altogether, and you wanted to get rid of it, the person, not thinking that hands falls or legs falls like that. So that it tells us that we are not honest. If we are honest, then if you are able to separate yourself and your hands and your head and legs or foot, then why not others? Same. So if you are making mistakes because of silly things, then why not others? And when you make it, if it's acceptable, then why not others? So that's the something that we have to look into mirror and then think what sort of person we are. Then when we look into it in the mirror, like inward in our mind, then when we are honest, then the person who is honest, that will not, just blame on others, and also criticize so much criticizes to others, and that person who have more uh, good senses, and that person would be able to uh, help their self and also others. That is a very, very good quality. That type of quality is very difficult to uh, gain. It's because the one reason is because when we were young, we need good teacher in the school or in a monastery or wherever, that when you are growing up, you need good uh, teacher or someone you look up to, that shows great uh, what's the word, examples. So then you can follow that example. Then you will also create really positive person yourself. So uh, that's very important, looking into our own mind rather than always being judgmental, talking others. And also, the point here, what I'm trying to say is that sometimes we tell other people, I'm a Buddhist and I am, practitioner, or I am Tibetan or whatever, saying that, claiming that, almost saying that one step closer to Buddha or Bodhisattvas. However, when it comes to in a reality, then if you have so much attachment in your family and in your uh, uh, own sort of relatives, and then of course have a greater hatred to others, then basically we are losing the fundamental point, that from the beginning of the morning, what we are praying, saying Simje Tamche Dewada Dembar Juji, we are saying, entire sentient being, I would like to gain them happiness. Where is the entire sentient being? That what you are praying and what you are acting is absolutely kind of opposite. So where is your practice? Where is your prayer? The meaning of prayer, and what is acting? It's opposite. How can it be one closer step to uh, Buddhahood? It's not. So therefore, we have to be very careful. The Dharma, especially someone is thinking of practicing Buddha Dharma or wisdom. We are trying to gain more happiness, and we are trying to follow the Buddha's um, advices. Yet, maybe we are able to say many teachings by heart, and maybe people who read a lot of books, they could maybe say, almost whole book by heart. But when it comes to practice, if you are not practicing any of it, then we lost point there. We are losing the point there. So therefore, we have to, uh, if one really thinking that the um, there is a future life, there is a karma, there is a Buddha, uh, also believing we hold somewhere the three poisons in somewhere in us, then we have to uh, watch the three poisons, and then we also have to follow very carefully, not uh, wearing a some sort of practitioner's clothes and then you know acting or have a lot of malas on the neck or on the hands, and then uh, it's not like a showcase. It's not a joke. We are not acting, supposed to be doing it. So I usually tell people that Dharma got to be practiced properly. Otherwise, if you're acting, then it become a drama rather than a Dharma. So it is very important for us whether we are on the stage and performing drama, or we are on the ground and uh, doing something positive, and the activities that we are doing, it is uh, positive or not. Then if it's positive, then it's a dharma, not a drama. Yeah. So also I must mention here, when I said that we must sacrifice that thought of I, means it doesn't mean that you ignore yourself totally. It means there will be a very different types of uh, different path in different path or different ways to gain the higher level of practice. However, at the beginning, what we need is at least to find like equality, saying that I and others, saying we are equally important, as myself is important, and also the others too, thinking that way. Then when it comes to deep understanding of self, I, then there will not be uh, I, there will not be others, there will not be uh, mine, there will not be others, belongings, all is what? It's just exist by just by name. It's not, it doesn't exist how we are thinking it is exist. This is mine, this is this and that, and in the account, or the looking at the account number, or how much billions, or how much thousands of pounds or dollars I have, and then you think so solid. Even so, your number is going up and down so much, so it threats you, yeah. So anyway, that is when number go up and down in a stock market, going up and down. If you have a share, you worries a lot. And like if one is really intelligent person, then it's like a stock market. How we think the existence of the phenomena and self and others beings, and it is very scary how we perceive and how it actually exists. It's totally different. In fact, 100% opposition. So it is very scary in reality if you really understood. Therefore, when you become a higher realization, then you slowly turning that opposition slowly, and then you will be able to realize the actual how we are thinking, we are perceiving, and the reality itself, nature of reality. Then when you see exactly how it is existing, then that time you will be destroying the attachment. You will be able to destroy the uh, anger. You will, kind of automatically dissolve all of this, like the um, rainbow in the sky. It dissolves. It disappears. So anyway, that's how it is. Uh, so, not saying ignore yourself uh, totally, but to accept others. And then, when also put, if you can, after that, if you can, put others more important than yourself. Because, for example, if there's a 10 finger, and then if one finger and nine finger, which is more important? The nine. Likewise, others, so many. So they are more important than one person. So thinking that way. So then it doesn't mean that you have to ignore yourself totally, or you are no one, or you are not important. We're not talking about like that. And because you understood all the others so important and also relevant, your happiness, joys, and also in order to gain those, it rely on others, and also others' joys and happiness is also rely on me. So therefore, I if I become sick, then what happens? Then maybe one nurse or two nurses or doctor, all they have to come, an ambulance, then they have to come, prioritize, prioritize me, and then they have to spend time, look, check up what's happening in me. So therefore, I have to look after my health and physically and mentally. If I am fit physically and mentally, then I don't need to take those precious time of nurses and doctors. They can look after who is needing. Then I can also help others. So that sort of philosophy we have to install in our heart. Okay, that's all. Chanju Simjo Rinpoche Mache Panama Jejuruji Jawa Nyamba Meba Yang Kone Kondo Pewara Sho Kanre Rawe Korwe Shingamsu Penda Dewa Malu Jongwe Ne Jenre Sewa Tenzi Jaso Shabe Side Bado Denjuruji Pama Simje Tamje Dedan Denjuruji Ngendro Tamje Tado Dongwa Chanju Semba Kana Sushu 대다 꾸이지 놀라운 조조로지 good night